Hello everyone and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. Today I shall be taking a look at my custom Clara Oswald from the 2013 episode Hyde. I decided to make this custom because for a few years now I've been wanting a proper Clara figure, and to be honest this is my personal favourite outfit that she wore throughout her time on the show, and ironically this was the first version released for the 3.75 inch line back in the day. So how did I go around making this figure? The basic recipe for this figure was the Oswald figure and the Ace from Remembrance of the Daleks. Both figures are reasonably priced on the secondary market at the moment, and as you can see I've used both the legs and the skirt piece from the Ace figure and the torso, head and arms from the Oswald figure, and then that is where the hard sculpting begins. On the outfit, Clara has her dress, a blazer and a faded black parka jacket, so it was always going to be a bit of a challenge to actually sculpt all of this. And to achieve it I did the sculpting within 3 layers, and it helped to achieve the sharp differences between the jacket to the blazer to the dress, and it was also quite beneficial too because it helped me to actually sculpt in creases on the dress and on the jacket. So I started off by gluing the legs together to the Clara torso and then using Milliput mainly to blend out the skirt with the body, so there's no obvious seam lines or anything. So you can see the little detailing I've done within the sculpt where the seam is along the front of the jacket where the buttons are. Moving on to the paint taps for the dress, to achieve the colouring I got I did mix a dark grey with a navy, so it sort of had like a blue tint to it, and then the dress itself does have quite an odd pattern and it will be quite difficult to actually paint by eye. To achieve it I did simply just get creamy white, I put a dot on and then sort of half going over the dot, just so there's a little bit of colour variation on the dress, and although it's not 100% accurate, I'm quite happy with it because I'm not really a stickler for getting those tiny little details perfect. And then moving on to the blazer, so this was actually sculpted on after I'd done the dress like I've already said, and you can see the black buttons and the buttonholes as well on the blazer, and then I painted this with a brighter navy blue and then I went over with a dark blue wash just to capture the look of the material. And then finally the parka jacket. This was difficult mainly due to having the zips, the buttons and the pockets, and although it's a fairly simple representation I do think that it does do the job. You can actually see how I've gone about sculpting the actual pockets, so they're a little bit square with a little bit of actual sculpting inside just to make it look a bit more 3D. And then the arms, obviously Clara has her sleeves rolled up throughout the majority of the episode, and I basically just achieved that with a sausage of Milliput which I then flattened down and then another to complete the look. I then painted the jacket in a dark grey and then I added some gold for the zips and the buttons, and where the sleeve rolls up that's sort of like a fleshy colour. I decided not to do any paint applications on the legs because I was quite happy with them and they sort of looked perfectly fine, and to be honest there was no point in me actually just repainting them. For the face sculpt, now the B&M versions seem to have quite shoddy paint applications, which kind of made Clara look almost dead inside, to put it politely. So I did decide to repaint the face, and by looking at the side-by-side comparison you can see that I slightly changed the skin tone so it looked a bit more realistic. The eyes, just with a couple of little extra dots of paint, really does help to bring her alive, and by changing the colour of the lipstick as well, it's quite an effective thing to do. And actually looking at my repaint with the official version side by side, I am quite happy with my version, and you can see that I did repaint the hair as well, just so it's more brown and not as black as the official release. And also this custom did actually create another form of challenge for me, so I don't really make accessories for my customs, but within the episode Clara had her red satchel bag and it was one of the main parts of her 3.75 inch figure, so I did want to try and replicate it in the best way possible. There were a few options such as painting the Primeval satchel red, but then the style is completely wrong, so I went down the drastic route of buying pleather and cutting it down and trying to replicate it as best as possible, and although it isn't perfect by any means, and that's really it. It was quite a complex figure to do, but one that I am incredibly happy with, and I'd possibly go as far to say that this is my favourite custom that I have ever made myself. She fits perfectly with my custom 11th Doctor from Hyde 2. If you do attempt this custom, I take no responsibility if anything goes wrong, and I wouldn't normally say this, but as it is a complicated custom to make, I'd only really recommend doing this if you have a little bit of experience with sculpting and especially repainting the face. But if you have enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the usual stuff like following me on Instagram and Twitter. But thank you for watching, and I shall see you sometime soon for another Doctor Who video.
Don't forget
to click below and subscribe.
Well, how could I possibly forget that? For goodness sake. You got the message, haven't you? Don't forget.